Hi guys, and welcome back. This is our lesson that will introduce Mary Shelley's Frankenstein to you, and our essential question is, what is the basis of the novel Frankenstein, and how have the characters and ideas from a Gothic novel, which you explored last week, survived in modern culture, and what are some of the major themes and questions in Frankenstein? So we'll cover that briefly, and then you guys can have a quiz to assess your mastery of some of this. All right. First of all, Frankenstein in pop culture. You guys have seen him before. He's on Serial. He's been in movies. Even Alvin and the Chipmunks have something. You've seen Eddie Munster mirrored after him, etc. In addition, we have Scooby-Doo. We have Frankenstein the Mobster. We have Frankenstein Mickey Mouse. So there's been tons of paraphernalia, and their modern culture, we see Frankenstein everywhere. So even though this book was written in one of your quiz questions many, many years ago, we know that Frankenstein is still pervasive in today's culture. You guys studied a little bit about the author Mary Shelley, and she was born in 1797 to William Goodwin and Mary Wollstonecraft. Her mother died shortly after she was born. She learned about her mother only through writings her mother left behind, which advocated that women should have the same equal opportunities and rights as men. Back in this time, there was no equality. So women were the lesser of the culture, were looked down upon, and only men could vote at this time, and women did not have rights. Their job was to be at home with their husbands and providing for their families in terms of the home front. She was an avid reader and scholar, and knew through her fathers some of the most important men of the time. William Wordsworth, famous poet, and Samuel Taylor Coleridge, who you guys may have done for your poetry research project. She married Percy Bysshe Shelley in 1816 and listened intently into his intellectual conversations with others. She was really smart. They had 4 children, but only one survived to adulthood. Remember, you had lots of plagues back then and illnesses, and we didn't have penicillin to help us cure illnesses. And she died on February 1st, 1851, possibly of a brain tumor, but again, medical sciences weren't that great back then, so we're not sure. As you recall in the video, this novel was born as a challenge. A bunch of friends sitting around on a rainy vacation in Switzerland trying to create a scary story. They were sitting around telling ghost stories, and Mary started to write one, and this was the story she wrote, was Frankenstein. So then how I, then a young girl, came to think of and to dilate upon so very hideous an idea. After the death of her first baby, Shelley recorded a dream that may or may not have had a direct influence on the plot of Frankenstein. She recorded in her journal, quote, "Dream that my little baby came to life again, that it had only been cold and that we rubbed it before the fire and it lived." So again, we always talk about how literature mirrors real life, especially with your poetry research projects. Make some connections that she was writing, perhaps some things that she dreamed up or experiences that she had. So in the summer of 1816, Percy and 19-year-old Mary visited the poet Lord Byron at his villa beside Lake Geneva in Switzerland. Stormy weather frequently forced them indoors, where they and Lord Byron's other guests read from a volume of ghost stories. One evening, Byron challenged his guests to write one themselves, and that was the baby Frankenstein was born. Quote, "I saw the pale student of unhallowed arts kneeling beside the thing he had put together. I saw the hideous phantasm of a man stretched out, and then, on the working of some powerful engine, show signs of life and stir with an uneasy half-vital motion. Frightful must it be, for supremely frightful would be the effect of any human endeavor to mock the stupendous creator of the world." And that's talking a little bit about the Prometheus myth and how human was created from the Dr. Frankenstein. Okay? So Frankenstein misconceptions. There are so many of them, and you guys are going to cure the world of them. Okay? Frankenstein by Mary Shelley is the doctor. So in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, it is Dr. Frankenstein who creates the creature. In modern culture, the monster's name is Frankenstein. The monster is a clumsy, dumb brute, and the monster is bent on destruction from the beginning. However, you're going to see that in our book, the monster isn't clumsy, dumb, and brute. He was born and never learned to speak until he comes upon a family who teaches him language. And he's not bent on destruction. It's not through a heart-wrenching ordeal that he becomes evil. He's not innately evil. He becomes evil because of his surroundings and the way people treat him. So there are common misconceptions in culture that we'll dive into throughout the quarter as we read this. Some themes that you will explore, I think you should start thinking of them now, The overreaching of mankind. Is science going too far? Taking responsibility and accepting consequences for them. The need for social acceptance and belonging. We all need to belong to something. Nature versus nurture. The nature of evil. And vengeance. So there's your introduction to Frankenstein.